Assalamualaikum and hi to our lecturer, Dr. Nurfariza binti Abdul Wahab, that teach us course BMMD 4824 Automotive Components Manufacturing. Today, my friend Siti Nurfarida binti Abdul Rahman and me, Nur HANIS binti Muhammad RAFFIN, would like to present our assignment 2, which is part and assembly. We choose piston assembly. Okay. The function of piston. A piston is a component of reciprocating engines, reciprocating pumps, gas compressor, hydraulic cylinders, and pneumatic cylinders, among the others mechanism. Piston is one of the most important parts in automotive component. In an engine, the function of piston is to transfer force from expanding gas in the cylinder to the crankshaft via a piston rod or connecting rod. In piston, there are two main parts, which is head piston and connecting rod. Okay, this is the names of component in piston, which is part 1. We can see there is a piston crown, which is people call it head piston, piston skirt, snap ring, wrist pin, all control rings, second compression rings, and top compression rings. While in part 2, which is connecting rod shaft, it have connecting rod shaft, bearings, connecting rod bolts, and connecting rod cap. Part 1. Head piston. Piston head is the top surface that is the closest to the cylinder head of the piston, which is subjected to a very great forces and heat during normal engines operations. There are a few parts in head piston, which is top compression rings, second compression rings, all control rings, and wrist pin, and also piston skirt. So they have a function for each of the component. As we can see, top compression ring, the function is to provide sealing above the piston and to prevent the gas leakage from the combustion side, while second compression ring scrape oil and prevent it from reaching the combustion chamber. Oil control ring used to wipe excess oil from the cylinder wall during piston movement. Piston skirt is to travel up and down the cylinder. Wrist pin it as a bearing support. So the material that are used in piston, usually they choose low carbon steel or aluminum alloy, because this type of material is very can hold the high temperature, and the process to fabricate is include process cutting, punch, oven, lathe, holdings, and also finishing. Okay, this is the sketching of our drawing. This is the head piston from the side, top, and front view. Okay, so part 2 is a connecting rod. Connecting rod generally is called as connecting rod. Is a part of a piston engine which connects the piston to the crankshaft. And there are a few functions such as cap, brush, nuts. Include cap, bearing brush, bolt, and nut. And this is the functions. Okay, the material used and process to fabricate the connecting rod is usually the connecting rod is made from alloy steel, aluminium, brass, and others. And the process to fabricate is fabricate the connecting rod is usually it is manufactured by a casting, then forging, where the metal is heated and then the force is applied to manipulate the metals in such a way that the required final shape is obtained. Next, by foundry, the molten aluminum is poured in a hydraulic mold, then scooped up with a ladle from the crucible, which is the pot that holds the molten materials, and the material is then allowed to cool. Okay, so this is the sketching of the connecting rod. Okay, this is the drawing part by part before we make the assembly. So the first one is connecting rod shaft. Yeah, the second one is a piston head. This is a wrist pin. This is a piston rod cap. Okay, next my friends will continue.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. This is piston rod cap. Okay, this is assembly part by part, which means we will make a simulation towards this piston part. Firstly, we have to select material for simulation. Next, because of this piston is joined part by part, we have to connect all the part to be a connector for make a simulation. Firstly, we have to click connector and right click to select the pin. After selection of the pin, this is some of the pin that we have to select. Pin rod in the piston head. So this part it will connect between wrist and rod. The another connector is between wrist pin and the connector rod in the piston. After we select all the connector part, we have to fit the geometry part, which mean in the rod cap piston. Next, we have to apply force on the piston head part. We apply the force around 250 Newton. After we apply the force, we create the mesh. Here is the mesh toward the assembly part and run to play the simulation. This is a test one that we apply in the simulation, which is stress test. As we can see, the blue part is not serious toward the stress that we apply. That blue part show around 100 something until 6 million. That was mean that part is very strong to what we call it to stand the force. Next test is displacement. As we can see, after we apply displacement, we can see it will break on the piston head. Next test is strain. The strain is if we can zoom it on the piston rod, it will break on the piston rod in the middle of the piston head. That's all from us. Thank you and Assalamualaikum. Tengok balik desktop. Lepas